What's up, guys? Chris and Sis in the woods again with guest star Lois.
Hi.
Hey guys.
So we're gonna ramble a little bit today on kind of wherever we end up. Honestly, we've been out here just kind of hitting different topics of like life cycles and how everything that we've been to led us to where we are. How those were different experiences and the lessons that we've learned that have kind of. Oh man. Disclaimer.
It's okay. Disclaimer. These are the inner workings of our minds. We are not professionals. We are just sharing our journeys.
So I want to start just kind of talking, not even necessarily, I mean, we could hit upbringings all we want. I think the lessons that we've both learned that we've all learned, that have been kind of similar that led us through,
If you don't
our
mind if
adult
I cut
challenges.
in?
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's okay to say this
Go
about
for it.
how similar you guys are. So I always found it interesting. Chris was the oldest of our siblings that, eventually put us in the foster care to get us out of a bad situation. Lois was also the oldest of her siblings, and they have different ways that they went around that, but like just the similar experiences. And I'm really excited for today because we have them together, and just it's a beautiful thing whenever you didn't grow up with a nuclear family or just like what you see as like normal. We're not normal. Here's our story. All right, now to you guys.
I like that.
Very
Yeah?
loud.
I need a jumping off point from that point.
Okay, life cycles. So
Life
where are you guys
cycles.
at right now after the time? Okay, this is interesting. You guys both raised children.
As
children.
Yes.
So now, where are you at? What cycles?
Definitely always still growing,
Always still growing.
learning about myself.
As an adult, I'm able to actually focus on my life cycles versus like a community life cycles, and that's pretty cool. And my own spiritual growth, my own emotional growth, my own physical, emotional, all of it, all that growth. I've been able to since I was 28 when we took that Reiki class.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest of 11.
11?
Yeah, so
Wow.
I had quite a lot of siblings as well. I'm from my mom's first marriage, and so I guess they're technically half siblings, but we never viewed ourselves as such.
Never. Yeah, that's the question.
And
Agreed.
Yeah.
they're awesome. They really are. But it was very much like from 12, really like hands-on raising babies. I had a baby at a hip. My hips are literally actually cockeyed because
Really?
I had such a baby at a hip. My hip and my developmental like when the body was still growing.
Well,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
It is
Yeah.
interesting. But it was also able to be like, I was growing in that time as well, but I was not so focused on myself.
Yes.
Because there was a bigger picture I was involved in.
There's a lot of roadblocks that come later on in life when we're used to having all of our focus on somebody else. We were never focused on
sure.
forefront by anybody. And then
There's-
learning how to care about yourself first is really different. I had a lot of trouble with that. personally.
It was interesting because it was realizing some of my behaviors and some of the things I've done was trauma rooted. And so to realize, okay,
That's actually not who you are.
this is, and it's like almost like a gift that was bestowed upon me that I didn't get to find out. It was like there was something at the end of my life, or not the end of where I'm at right now,
The
and
life
what I'm going
cycle?
through. This life cycle,
Yeah.
it's navigating through those trauma responses and realizing that that's all they are trauma responses. Even people pleasing, making sure the
Yes.
room is harmonious so that the energy spikes, because heightened energy was usually really very challenging times when I was growing up. So anytime anyone gets an elevated response, I start being like, okay, am I safe? Is everyone else safe?
Yeah.
Full on
And so it's-
dissertation of what's
Absolutely.
happening.
Yes.
Yes.
Figuring out where my exits are always.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Always.
Man, I always have a backup plan for everything.
For sure.
It really affected me, just a tone of voice.
Yeah.
I am so incredibly sensitive to anybody's tone change because I know what's happening next. I know what's happening next. Do you guys understand?
Energy
Yeah.
shifts
Yeah.
for me. Like I can feel a vibe shift. Sometimes that's beneficial, but sometimes I had to learn that I don't have to be so hyper aware, that I will be aware when something happens and then I can act accordingly, but I don't have to
Yeah.
be always on because it's exhausting.
That's where I've just been working on myself, is learning, because I've reached a point in my life where I'm like, I am just sick and tired of being drained. I'll gain a little energy and I know this isn't right. So what is the core problem? Why am I drained all the time? I need to find this energy and utilize, the best way that I can and just keep my core powered. And my problem is I'm just hyper aware of everything. I'm always analyzing everything all the time. And like the small things can totally be let go. Just worry about literally where you're at, where you're focusing right in the moment.
Absolutely.
What
It's
I
a lot to unlearn.
learned
And to
about.
understand. Sorry.
No, you're okay. What I've learned about even tone of voice is I would imprint that on other people. It wasn't just like my bosses, anybody that had any type of authority over me. I would read that tone of voice, and I would immediately set myself up ready to like get defensive. And then I realized I was doing that to my friends and my partners, and now I've realized not everybody is out to attack me.
Right.
Not everybody is out there that's trying to tear me down. People are allowed to have emotions and different tone of voices and energy changes, and it doesn't mean that they're trying to tell me I'm.
It's not a personal thing.
No, it's not.
It's good
It's
to not
something
take
they're
anything
going
personally.
through.
Yes.
For sure.
Everybody definitely has their own vibe and their own way that they come across. So that was another thing that I hit on a lot recently is, and we just talked about earlier, understanding somebody from their own perspective. It just makes communication a lot easier, because the world isn't going to change unless we change ourselves individually and have an understanding.
And that
And this is where it
therefore
starts, man.
changes your experience too.
Yeah.
Well, I find like people aren't really crazy if you also get to see where they came from, what steps they are, and it makes a lot of sense. Like my own trauma responses. If you understood where I came from, because some people think things I do are very odd or different, but I also raised myself. So
Right.
I learned how to do things, figuring it out, and didn't really have a lot of input. I did have input, but a lot of the things I did, I figured out by myself.
Yeah.
So I do them my own unique way.
Pioneered the new age.
For sure, something.
It's like a step above a feral cat. you know?
For sure.
That feral
It
cat's
is.
tame as a lion.
Like
later on in
we
life.
were like
I-
half feral.
I do agree with that. I actually, my grandma was a hoarder. I stayed with her for the first few years of my life with my mom, but she was like there during the day. I guess she was working. I don't know where she was at, honestly. I never thought about it. Now that I'm older, she might have been out there. But my Grammy also fed all the cats in Norwalk, California, all the stray cats. So we had at least 20 cats any given time, at least. And they were all outside, and I would hang out with them all day. I'd have breakfast with my Grammy, go outside, and was kind of this little Mowgli kid with these cats. And I knew that they had to still stay a little wild because they had to be outdoor cats. And I was a little wild with them.
I
but
love that. Yeah.
so I think a lot of my raising and the way I even view people is very cat-like even. Like, okay, well, you're doing your thing, I'm gonna go over here then, and such. And like,
Coexisting.
kind of take them
Yeah.
more as they are, because I feel like cats do that
Cats
as well.
are like
Their own
that.
personality.
They even see us almost as equals to them. So it's
That's
just
cool.
like
They see us as big humans or big,
big
cats.
cats.
Make it really.
Yeah.
yeah. So like, and I think I kind of translated, because these are my formative years, like my first early years of growing was very
your 20s?
influenced with, in my 1, 2,
Early
3, like my first few years of my life, up to like maybe 4, was very intertwined with cats and very much. I mean, we were all raising each other. Like, and then I took that. I mean, I was even like cleaning their eyes out, and like my grandma would put a thing on my lap, and I would like do the little drops and cure the eyes out and everything. And so like taking that, then starting to raise my siblings. So I almost raised them like how I was raising these cats.
That's
even.
really
Yeah.
cool.
I love that.
That's part of my cycle and how I was able to. I was also like really fortunate to be blessed with, like, I had some Buddhist teachings that I would get, and these different Eastern teachings, and these different, like, and I also would study like Catholicism because that's where I came from, and just learning the core and just like the really beautiful teachings of these different teachers, these different like ascended masters is how I see them. Being content with where you're at and like learning that joy in those situations, even when you're in very challenging situations,
Yeah.
was really helpful to navigate those tumultuous waters.
Yes.
They all have really good values. I've studied religion a lot. That was what I wanted to minor in college while I was there. I did about 3 years in college, but which was enough for me. I mean, I got the experience, took a lot of psychology classes, like would probably be really easy to guess. And I, picked up what I needed to.
I like psychology. I took a few classes.
When I found Buddhism, I was definitely like, the way I was taught when I was a kid, kind of just blew the entire top off of religion for me anyways, and then find understanding after understanding, and these people really aren't just trying to kill each other. We're being fed that, but, there's good values to take from all of it, from anything.
I mean, like meditation, even like being able to just center yourself and be able to really hear your own voice of what
Yeah.
you want was really important in my journey to where I'm at right now. That
Self-awareness,
happened more
understanding.
like when I was like 28, because I
Yeah.
was raised with that. If you meditate, you open yourself up to the devil, and it was just very
Right.
much that kind of.
Buddhism is an idol.
And so it was just very interesting to these things that are actually very useful tools have been so twisted, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because they're beautiful tools to have.
The world is not so dark.
We have so many centuries and centuries and centuries of people doing this, and it's not just this new thing.
Yeah.
Like, we have proof where we can do.
I feel like now we're just at a place like in society to where these things that have been around forever are more accepted. There's less criticism. We're still fighting the battle. Will be for a while.
and that's with the
but-
cycles, though.
Yeah, with the
With
cycles.
those challenges and those lessons.
And that's why even you see a lot of people going out there like the world is changing and it's so bad. No, it's so good. It is so good the world
For
is
sure.
changing because we are more allowed to be who we are. These new things they aren't new. They just were kept very secret because people would die if they were actually who they were.
yeah.
There's a
And we're
radical
done.
shift for sure, because we're like we skipped like 4 or 5 of these acceptance periods, and now it's just all coming down at once, and
Yeah.
it's time to get real about some things. Like in the whole religion war, like this restraint caused a lot of division, and it's time to stop blaming killing each other all over the world on religion. Like we
Yeah.
all want to get along at the core.
Well, and I feel like religion probably had its place because it's part of our history, it's part of our story to get to where we are now.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's absolutely other ways that it could have happened. That's how it happened in our journey, in our story of humanity. And in that, like I said, there's small life cycles, our own
Yeah.
personal. There's also like bigger and bigger as far as you go with your different communities,
Yeah.
your state, your country,
Definitely.
your world. We have these huge life cycles and shifts and changes that we're also collectively doing. And with that comes those challenges where we can learn and shed the things that are no longer serving our highest good anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're in that cycle right now. And that's
feel
why
it.
we're seeing a lot of animosity but I feel like
Especially if you don't know
Yeah.
what's going on or
yeah.
understand it, if you haven't been a part of like this kind of like world where we're talking.
Yeah, the LGBTQ plus community, Black Lives Matter, all these things that we're fighting for right now.
Oh my gosh, people are like rising up more than I've ever seen. It's a beautiful shift.
I just got
Whether
an
or
energy chill
not
from
anybody respects what anybody's fighting for or what anybody is standing for, the important thing is that people are standing up and fighting for their rights, because there's not a single person that's going to listen to me say this and say, I disagree, the world doesn't need to be changed. Yes, it does. Governments need to be changed. We're not in control of everything, and everybody knows it. And it's time for us to come together. It's time for us to stand for something, if anything, and just be on the same page and bring good to the world. This isn't a fight of, I mean, obviously there's anger involved on all spectrums, but people have
Yeah.
been suppressed, they've been oppressed, and it's terrible.
Anger is not a terrible emotion either.
It
It
is- if
shakes
it's-
things up.
It
Yes.
does.
It does shake things up. when
It's
used
also your
appropriately.
boundaries are screaming out.
Misplaced anger is very harmful.
Yes.
When you're spewing your anger at things that are really not even part of that problem because you're upset and you're not exactly sure why, that's when you need to be going back
Center
introspect
yourself.
why am I angry, and asking those questions and following that trail of, okay, this is why I'm feeling this way, instead of just like spewing without thought.
Yeah.
Again, an
Without-
understanding of that feeling and why you have it. And that definitely has to be done on more of a massive scale, because as of right now, there are definitely a lot of angry people that have no idea why they're mad. But,
Absolutely.
you know, one thing at a time, we're definitely breaking the whole
Sure.
entire world out of its shell, which again is the point of hitting you up on YouTube, because we want to... I'm doing that a
with
lot.
this
We're vibing.
That's
We're just,
okay.
it's
Yeah.
water. We've been all
It's
about
helping
water.
that shift and change. Anyone who stands up and speaks their truth helps that shift and change.
Yes.
Where it doesn't matter where you came from. It truly does not matter where you came from. You can always stand up and be like, hey, I would like to do something different. I would like to be part of that positive change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you come from.
Well,
We
the
all
thing
have our
is,
gifts.
We're all going to leave this earth someday. You know, we don't own this.
Yeah.
We're only
That's
here.
why
We're
we're-
just visiting. You know? Is that some Wookiee? Did I
Yeah,
put some
it is
Wookiee?
Wookiee.
I
It
love
is.
some Wookiee.
I love Wookiee food.
Yeah, we're just visiting, and the goal is to make this place a better place by the time we leave.
I've
We're
never
all
viewed
learning.
my carbon as a rental before. Now I kind of do. It's
Yeah, we're
cool.
just renting the carbon. I love that.
With that Wiki food speaking too and cycles, I really love that when you're going through hell, don't stop.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you're going through those dark nights of the soul. You're going through that dark side of the moon. You're going through, and when you get through it, it's amazing. I've been on my own personal going through those dark sides and those dark journeys, and coming out and being like, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
And then I can take that knowledge and be like, you know what, that was kind of scary, and I did it, and I'm so glad I did it that I'm going to do this again, this next challenges. And now you're like, I'm so up for this challenge.
Yeah.
You completed a cycle, you learned from the cycle. Any lesson you're supposed to learn in life that you don't learn, you are doomed to continuously repeat, which is
Yep.
why it's important to complete these cycles, because then you learn from them, you learn more, you're ready for the next step in life, and you
Absolutely.
continuously grow.
If your life
is a
is pretty
beautiful
much
thing.
the same and you see a repeating pattern, the universe is screaming at you that it's time to wake up and start asking yourself why.
For sure.
And it's hard, but
And
as
it
you
is
said,
our
it's worth it.
responsible, and it's
It
our own
is.
responsibility. Whatever we were given, it is our responsibility to fill in those holes or those things
Yeah.
we're lacking that we see.
Yep.
It's absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot of work to change. Everybody can change. People say everybody can change. You have to tear down walls. It's like destruction, construction. It's a lot of work to tear apart a piece of yourself and then rebuild it in a way that you've learned is better.
You know, somebody said this to me the other day. I don't know if it was you or Rob's. I don't know. But a lot of
Shout out to
unlearning-
Robbie.
Yeah, hey Rob's. A lot of what we are unlearning is we are just getting back to the roots of who we actually are.
Yeah.
Stripping it
Instead,
down.
yeah, we're just stripping it instead of us like changing or whatever. It's just coming back to like the pure form of human soul connection that we are, the energy beings that we are.
That inner child.
The inner, I
Before
hug my
we
inner
were
child.
taught what we should be doing and such,
Yeah.
and really getting back to the essence of us.
Mm-hmm.
That unlearning the things that our society has been holding on to, and
Telling us who to be, what to do.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. There's even studies they had where these monkeys, they might not be monkeys, they're some sort of primate, and they had these bananas on the ladder, and if they tried to go get them, they would hose them down. And so at some point, they would introduce a new primate into the experiment, and he would try to go straight up for the bananas, and they would grab him and whoa, feed him everything. Like, do
my
not
gosh.
do that. And at some point, they were trading these out until nobody ever saw what happened if you went and got those bananas, and not everyone would even look at them.
Indoctrination.
And that's
Oh,
how
wow.
kind of society works. It's like we don't even remember why we do what we do. We were taught, and it's so taught at such a young age that you don't even think it was a lesson.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that you even learned, but it's something that is so ingrained on almost a cellular level because it is so ingrained in us. Then those are things that are also bursting and releasing, and like, oh wow, like me and my trauma responses. I had no idea until I'm like, oh. And the more awareness you get to, comes with more awareness, and like, oh, okay, and that too.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful and interesting journey, for sure.
All right, guys. How's that?
That sounds good.
I think
like
it's
it.
a wrap.
This was good.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you,
All right.
Lois.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
inviting me. This is
It's
cool.
so good to have you.
Absolutely.
You're our first guest. I'm really glad it was you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
for
I
sure.
appreciate that, guys.
Yeah.
It's really been cool.
So I hope you all just enjoy this conversation as much as we all did.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go enjoy the water. So
For
much
sure.
love and appreciation,
Bye, guys.